Welcome back, everyone, to this special edition of Raptors Today. My pleasure to introduce the head coach of the Toronto Raptors, Dwane Casey. Case, always great to see you, and congratulations.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Matt.
You have a foundation for defense, and that's what you're known for. Where did that come from?
Well, first of all, coaching in college, and 32 years of coaching, but started in college with Joe B. Hall at Kentucky and Eddie Sutton at Kentucky, who I think is one of the best defensive minds that was in college basketball. So that's where the foundation started. Then the innovative and the creative part of defense came from George Karl at Seattle. A guy by the name of Bob Kloppenberg was innovative back when they had the legal defensive rules. So you had to be creative to take advantage of the rules at that time. So that's where I learned a lot of the trapping, a lot of the zone defenses and double teams and what we call Laker Reds and traps at half court. Those type of things came from George Karl, who was ahead of his times at that time in Seattle. We had Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, Sam Perkins, and that's what I always use. If a guy like Sam Perkins can double team and trap and rotate and that type of thing, you can. So Sam probably had the speed of a turtle, but he could get the job done.
When you look, Case, at the Toronto Raptors, what do you see?
I see a young, athletic, dynamic team that needs to develop a disposition for the defensive end of the floor. And again, I don't mean that to have a whip and chain. I want it to be fun as far as the defensive approach, but we have to have a better disposition for the defensive end. Because, you know, the offensive part is there. Jay Triano did an excellent job of creating that atmosphere for offense, a free-flowing style of play. But what we got to do now is start on the defensive end, holding guys accountable, making sure everybody does their job, and that's why I will be a stickler on the defensive end and make sure everybody. And if you can't do the job defensively, then that's when you have to come and sit beside me and let's talk about it, because it's so important. And knowing and having that foundation of defense, knowing that defense wins championships, whether it's college, pros, or international, that's why I feel very confident in teaching it, promoting it, and emphasizing it for our team.
You know, one of the things that when you look around the NBA now, it's not just about the X's and O's. It's about the relationship that you have with a player. And anyone that you talk to about Dwane Casey, as a coach said, that his relationship with players is exceptional. Getting them to buy into a concept and then also executing that concept. You know, how did you develop that? Or is that just something that you've always had?
Well, you know, coaching in college, you know, you recruit a lot. I mean, I've recruited in every state in the union, every nook and cranny, overseas and everything. So I've had a chance to travel the world, get to know different people. And the key word is being sincere. And I sincerely take an interest in young men's lives, what makes them tick, what's important to them, what I can do to help them be better. Because if you're not sincere, then you lose that trust. And trust is the basis of any relationship. And that's what it's about. A team is about relationships. It's about trust. It's about building that trust. And I truly believe in that, because I just don't want to walk out on the court and coach a guy. I want to get to know him, his family, his kids, if he has any, and all about him. And because, you know, that's the way you can approach a guy, and you buy that opportunity to correct a player. You can hold a guy accountable if he knows you care and have his best interests at heart.
One of the things that you notice with you when you look over at that sideline is you are up there and you are active. You've always been like that.
I've always been like that. I want to curtail that a little bit as a head coach, because you know, I want my staff to be involved, because I do know that spirit, that energy, that passion rubs off on your team. And we had an older team in Dallas. So, you know, it's easy for older players to say, oh, here's crazy Coach Casey again. But, again, they fed off of it. They knew it was sincere and real. And when I didn't do it, they noticed it. So it works, I'm telling you, because if a player knows that you're that passionate and you're working that hard and you're prepared, they have no choice but to bust their behinds and give you everything they have on the court.
We'll have more with Dwane Casey right after these messages.
celebration will begin. The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. The first title in franchise history.
Welcome back, everyone. Dwane, I want to talk about the Dallas experience, because when everyone looked at Dallas, you go back to when you arrived there with Rick Carlisle, everyone thought of offense. Offense, offense, offense. And yet you had to change that mentality. You change it and you win a title. How do you do that?
Well, the first year was the most challenging because we went in preaching defense. We had all this structure offensively, and we didn't have the right mix, the right chemistry of offense and defense. And what we found out, Matt, was let's emphasize and be very specific, be very, controlling defensively, and open it up offensively. And that's the formula I want to use here with the Raptors. We'll have a template offensively where we're going to play up tempo. We're going to play, multiple pick and roll basketball on the offensive end. But defensively is where players have to give it to me. And that's the only way I know how to coach. I know that mixture, that chemistry works because I've got to trust the guys on the offensive end, and they've got to trust me on the defensive end, that when I'm on their behind about not rotating, not boxing out, not closing out properly is going to help us win the game. So that mixture does work.
Coach, one of the words that I heard constantly when I was following the Dallas Mavericks in the first round against Portland, whether it be through the assistant coaches, yourself, or whether it was with Rick Carlisle, was flow. I know you're bringing flow to Toronto. Explain what flow is and how you get it.
Well, what it is random multiple pick and rolls. Because the NBA today, Matt, is so well scouted. If we had went to the against the Lakers, Oklahoma City, or against Miami and had set plays, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this play number 2, they would have taken us apart because speed and athleticism, quickness and preparation can take specific sets out of a game. So what we did was, if we come down now, one time we'll come down pick and roll this side with Jason Terry and Jason Kidd. It may be with our 5-man. We come down the other side, we may pick and roll with Jason Kidd, J.J. Barea, and Dirk Nowitzki. So the randomness, the multiple pick and rolls, one on this side, one on that side, is what we call flow. Flow into it. There's no play call, but you have a template of what you want to do and who wants to set the screen. Sometimes it may be a double screen into a pick and roll. Sometimes it may be a slip screen into an early pick and roll. But you're playing basketball out of it. It sounds like chaos, but there is a method to the madness. And the good thing about it is it's great for the fans. The players enjoy playing in that type of system. And it's hard to scout. It's hard to prepare for. But again, it all starts on the defensive end. It's easy to flow when you're getting stops on the other end. It's hard to flow out when the ball's coming through the net. So my charge to the players, well, let's get stops and let's flow.
That's one of the things when you look at flow. You guys in Dallas, when you got stops, that ability to get out and go was so difficult to handle. What does it say that Rick Carlisle, on the night that you win a title, is picking up the phone at 1:30 in the morning to call Brian Colangelo on your behalf?
Well, it meant a lot because Rick's been a great friend. He's been a mentor to me. He did a great job of helping me develop most of my offensive philosophy, coaching philosophy. I've seen things that he's done with the team and his ideas that he's had, and I've stolen from him. A great basketball mind, a lot of tradition he's brought from the Boston days as a player. So I've learned a lot from Rick, and I owe Rick a lot. I didn't know that call was unprompted. I didn't ask him to call at that time because, again, my whole thought process throughout the playoffs was the next opponent, not job searching or anything like that. So I appreciate that from Rick. I asked Brian that he had too much champagne or whatever because we're all drenched in champagne and everything like that. But Rick is a coach's coach, a man's man in this game of basketball.
One of the things you said during the press conference that stands out to me, effort 1, scheme 2. And when you look at that and trying to implement that, where does that idea come from and how do you execute it?
Well, first of all, fundamentals, and that comes with effort, hard play. That's what you bring to practice. You set that tone, you set that culture in practice. When guys are not giving it to you,
we can learn a lot, right out the gate. This weekend we're going to be in the gym and, just listen to him and understanding what he wants from us and, continue to work on it this summer and we should be good.
All right, welcome back. Coach, let's talk about the roster right now. First, I want to start with DeMar DeRozan. What do you see in him?
DeMar is a young, athletic guy. I got to know DeMar over the last few years at Gerg's camp in Vegas. And really enjoyed working with him, watching his game grow. He still is on a path to getting better every year. He's a great athlete. And one thing I told him today was we want to increase that range. We want to work on his three-point shot, get his footwork into his three, and where he is stretching the floor and shooting the three ball much better. Work with him coming off screens. I mean, he does a good job in the mid-screen and roll area, but that can improve also. But the number one thing I know he can do a better job of is be a defensive player and defensive stopper, and it starts with a stance, the fundamental of a stance. But DeMar, the future is his. I mean, as far as how hard he wants to work and how hard he wants to prepare, because he has every skill that you look for in an NBA player.
When Raptor fans look at Andrea Bargnani, they see that offense. And you were with Dirk Nowitzki. There has been in the past comparisons, but you look at Dirk, his practice, what he puts into it is at another level. Andrea Bargnani averaged better than 21 points, but there are people there that look at him and say, hey, he could rebound more, he can play better defense. When you look at Andrea, what do you see?
I see the 21 points right now, and that's huge because we can't discredit that. That's big time because he is one of the best big man shooters in the league, bar none. And people laugh when I say this, but he's a better athlete than Dirk is. So it's there. The format, the foundation for Andrea to be a big time NBA player, to raise his game to another level, to take over as far as when Dirk is ready to go into the sunset is there. But the key thing is like you said, getting that level getting to the next gear. And whatever it takes as far as learning what buttons to push with him is going to be huge. I've worked with a lot of European players in the past, and it's a different approach. Some's a kick in the butt, some's an arm around them. So we're gonna have all methods available. But the one thing I asked of Andrea is let's get to the board. I'm going to be on him about rebounding more so than just stopping somebody. But as far as making sure he's where he's supposed to be, where he can build trust with his teammates that he's going to rotate and be there, and we'll make sure that he's not exposed defensively in a one-on-one situation. But all I asked is something he can control is going to the boards on a consistent level to make his and to utilize his height on the defensive end of the floor.
Ed Davis just finished up his rookie campaign, wasn't healthy early, but when he did get time, he was one of those players that had a knack to get a rebound.
I've only seen Ed, like I said, on film. I think he has all the bases to be a very good defensive player in the paint. I think he can get better as far as scoring the basketball. I think one thing with Ed is getting stronger and working on his body. From what I understand, he's been doing that in the last few months. So also, again, another guy we got to stay in the gym with, to work with his hands, work with his offensive game on the offensive end, but most of all, make sure he's prepared physically to play in an NBA game.
And then at a point guard position, you have Jose Calderon and Jared Bayless. Your thoughts?
Well, Jose is I love Jose. I thought he had a down year last year. I don't know what it was, but I think he lost a little confidence. 2-3 years ago, everybody in the league was pushing to get Jose. And so we've got to get that confidence back. We've got to get the game fun where, he gets that swagger back, knocking down shots and shooting the three the way he can. Jared, Jared is a guy who can get his own shot. He can get to the paint. He's one of the guys that can get to the free throw line. And, the sky's the limit for Jared. I was just talking to Nate McMillan, who had Jared in Portland. And it was one area where that Jared has to improve is moving the basketball, being able to see the floor. But he has something we don't have. He has the feet and the quickness to stop people on the perimeter. But the most important thing, create his own shot, get to the paint, and then get to the free throw line.
I want to go back in time. 1978, Kentucky Wildcats winning the NCAA championship. Joe B. Hall, legendary head coach of Kentucky. Talk about that time and what that meant to you as someone born and raised in Kentucky.
It was huge. It was something that people today still talk about, still have friends. I still just had dinner last summer with Coach Hall in Lexington, still a great friend of mine, a great resource that I bounce things off of. But it's something that you can never take away. Now I have an NBA championship. The NBA championship is a little harder just because it's longer and more of a grind. But two beautiful feelings. You're the last one to win a game. You develop those friendships through those grinds and trials and the path you take to get to those championships. So it's something that's beautiful, and I want to continue. If I don't get to coach another day, I've experienced the two ultimates.
You certainly have, and I know, speaking for everyone with the Toronto Raptors organization and the fans out there, hopefully you'll be experiencing that once again here for the Toronto Raptors. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Matt.
This has been a special edition of Raptors Today. We want to thank President General Manager Brian Colangelo and the new head coach of the Toronto Raptors, Dwane Casey, for joining us.